Okay, so I'm going to try to assemble this as quickly as I can, and this gun is completely broke down. But just to show you, and these big meat hooks of hands, okay, so what I'm going to do is put that this piece in, which has the inner O-ring in it, and that's what I want to try to drop down in there into position if I can do it. And sometimes it'll just land right down in there where you want it to, and sometimes it won't, and that's what I'm trying to get. And I'm going to use the screwdriver to try to get that into its position and down into the hole. And there we go, we got it going. And so once I got it down there, I'm going to tighten that down. Now you're going to have to come back and readjust this because we don't know how tight we are until we get the needle in there. So we got to get the assembly going in there. So I'm just getting that in and locking it into position. The next thing I'm going to do is just probably put the air assembly valve all together. I'm going to drop in the stem, the spring on top of that. Try to get that into position. Again, big old fat fingers are, but you know, this stuff actually assembles pretty easy, and it's not like I had to be a watchmaker. So that's together. I'm going to put that into the bottom of the gun, screw that in by hand, and we have that together. So let's go to the front assembly of it. I'm going to go ahead and take the O-ring. We're going to go ahead and get that into position. Okay, we're going to drop in our fluid tip. On top of that, we'll just stack those babies up. Now you can't just hand tighten this. Like we've talked about before, that has to seal good and why that O-ring is there. So this actually has to be tightened, and it comes with a tool, or I'm just using these pliers here that I can use. And we want to tighten that down. Now you just want it to be, you know, snug. You do not want to tighten that too tight. Here's the actual tool that comes with it. And you just slide that around, and it has only one position that it'll fit. So once you got it on there, you can snug it up. Don't go too tight with it because you don't want to crush everything, but you want to make sure that it seals up. So once that's done, you're good to go. We put this cap on here, and this we can hand tighten, and that's the air mixes underneath that particular cap. And then of course our end cap, the reversible end cap. Okay, so we're sitting pretty good there. Now this is the point which I want to put the trigger in. Now the trigger, we want to set this in, so we want our angled grooves to the front. So set it in, and you can literally visually line that up and put that into position, and you're good to go. You can see the spring. I don't have to look down into the gun. Boy, it's very easy, especially for us old airbrushers that can't see anymore. So take this assembly. Now if you notice, I tilt this as far forward as I can. That allows me to slide into the gun. Remember, we talked about that that's elongated, and that is for that reason, so it doesn't slip down into the gun body in usage, which makes it very unique in the fact that this gun won't have that problem. Now I can slide my spring over that. On it goes. Take my spring holder there and screw that into the body. Okay, sometimes this will catch right on the edge like it has there. It's like it stops and you think you're good. Well, you're not. What's happened is that stopped because there's an edge there, so I can actually push my trigger back and get it beyond that edge and continue to tighten. Then I can release and I'm good to go. That happens to a lot of people sometimes. It's just the nature of the way those parts are and how they fit together. So it's an easy slip around. You just tighten that down, get it past the threads, and that's a spring adjustment, so you have a varied room to increase the tension a little bit on the spring. But I just usually get it past the threads. Then I put my lock nut on for the needle. Okay, now I'm going to have to take all of that back out when I try to make an adjustment, and I'm feeling right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to feel how much tension that I have on that O-ring that's inside there. Okay, and I think I could get a little bit tighter. I really do, because if I'm using solvent base, I do not want that solvent getting back in there, as we talked about before, to that O-ring that's in the air mechanism. And actually, you know, it's got a pretty good grip. I'm feeling it a little bit better. I don't know, that might be good. I'm feeling for a little tension, but I'm not feeling for it just to slide easily. But I also don't want it to grip it so tightly. See, I don't have any lubricant on the needle. I always recommend that you use a lubricant, because that way you can get that a little bit tighter. And what that'll do is allow that to slide in and out of the gun better. You know, that actually feels pretty good, so I'm going to leave it at that. And then we're going to put the handle on. Now here's something about these open areas that you see in these handles. Now, a lot of the different guns will have these, and what that is it's an access to your needle chuck, and a lot of times they use that for yanking back on it when you're flushing the gun out, because you can pull it back pretty far. But what you want to look for here is that, and why it has an O-ring on there, rubber O-ring, you don't want to have it setting like this, because your finger can rub against that while you're pulling your trigger, and what that does is creates pressure against the side of that, and that side pressure is pushing parts against parts, and it's causing wear inside the gun. So you want to make sure that you are in that position, so that on the side of the gun has a piece of that metal, and your slots are on the top and the bottom. That way your finger slides along the side, you're not interfering with the gun mechanisms at all by your finger. Okay, and of course then we have the top cap. The SATAgraph 4s also come with a plastic cap. I like to use the plastic caps more so than the metal caps, because as paint gets old and you've been using the gun and it gets around these parts and it dries, sometimes it's very difficult to get these off. That's why they're knurled on the edges, so a lot of times people hook pliers on them and yank them off. And what happens there too is you can pull it and sling paint all over the place, where with the plastic cap you can literally grip it and peel it away. The SATAgraph 4 comes with both, so it's your choice, and that's another nice feature. But there you have it, in what I think is the finest automotive airbrush in its price range, and German engineered, American made.